Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're unpacking a truly fascinating biological mechanism that's going to completely redefine how we look at skincare and aging. We're taking some incredibly heavy-hitting scientific research and breaking it down into clear visual takeaways that you can actually understand and use. We are going deep inside the cellular biology of your skin. Okay, let's dive into this. What actually happens to your skin after 3 days of fasting? It's a question I found absolutely fascinating because it beautifully bridges the gap between our diets and dermatology. And to answer it, we really have to look past the surface level and explore what your cells are doing when they're deprived of external nutrients. Most of us think about skin aging in terms of what we put on the outside, right? Topical creams, serums, external physical barriers. But the biological reality is just vastly different. Your skin is essentially a microscopic factory deep inside your body, and its health relies entirely on an internal cellular recycling process known as autophagy. Section 1. Beyond the visible surface, a graveyard of dead cells. To really understand this, we have to rethink what we see in the mirror. What you're looking at is essentially a beautifully organized graveyard. The outermost layer of your skin is comprised entirely of dead keratinocytes, forming a physical wall against the outside world. But beneath that, our skin goes through an incredible regeneration cycle approximately every 17 days. According to dermatological literature, it takes roughly 2 to 4 weeks for living cells in the deep basal layer to journey upwards, transform, and eventually undergo this programmed cell death to become that surface barrier. Section 2. The cellular recycling system, your skin's internal quality control. So, the living layer of your skin is like a bustling factory floor. And to keep it from breaking down, it uses autophagy. Derived from the Greek words for self-eating, you can think of this lysosomal pathway as the ultimate biological recycling center. Honestly, it's like the Marie Kondo of your cells. It actively hunts down damaged cellular components, like dysfunctional mitochondria, clumped-up proteins, or stressed endoplasmic reticulum fragments, breaks them down and recycles them into fresh, reusable molecular blocks. Now, autophagy runs in the background constantly. But stress, specifically nutrient deprivation, like fasting, flips it into absolute overdrive. Within hours of a fast, your autophagy flux spikes. Biochemically, proteins like LC3I flip a switch to become LC3I2, marking active recycling. And this brilliantly illustrates just how fast our bodies adapt. This mechanism is so mind-blowing, actually, that Dr. Yoshinori Osumi won the 2016 Nobel Prize in Medicine just for mapping it out. Section 3. Collagen and quality control, building the dermal matrix. Moving deeper into the dermis, where the structural integrity and youthful bounce of our skin are forged, we find collagen. It is the absolute foundation of your skin's architecture, making up a staggering 70 to 80% of the dermis's dry weight. Secreted by cells called fibroblasts, it creates this dense, fibrous network that provides essential tensile strength. But here's the thing, collagen is not a static structure. Over time, oxidative stress, UV radiation, and glycation severely damage these fibers. If these damaged collagen fragments aren't efficiently cleared out, they literally block the assembly of new healthy structures. It creates a cellular traffic jam of abnormal procollagen that triggers intense stress, and that translates directly to the visible signs of aging we see on the outside. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is when you break this complex biology down by cell type, it's just fascinating. Look at the fibroblasts. Autophagy uses a highly specific pathway involving the FAM134B receptor to hunt down and clear out that misfolded procollagen we just talked about. It rescues the cell. It shows us that structural integrity isn't just about feeding the cell nutrients, it's about how efficiently the cell empties its own trash. Section 4. Clearing pigment and inflammation, the fight against aging. Have you ever wondered how your skin actually manages to maintain an even tone? Well, it's largely due to a specialized process called melanophagy. Incredible 2013 research by Murray's and colleagues shows that active autophagy literally digests melanin carriers, known as melanosomes, inside your skin cells. By maintaining a high autophagy flux, your skin prevents uneven pigment distribution. It's essentially a built-in biological brightening mechanism. And then there's the massive issue of chronic microinflammation, which drives acne, rosacea, and photoaging. Here is how your cells handle it, through a pathway called mitochondriophy. When a mitochondrion gets damaged, its energy drops. This acts as a signal for the pink-1 enzyme to accumulate, which then calls in another enzyme, parkin, to tag the faulty structure for immediate destruction. It neutralizes the threat before it can trigger major inflammatory alarms, like the NLRP3 inflammasome. If you think that's impressive, look at how this suppresses cellular aging. Without autophagy, a transport protein called P62 builds up, which stabilizes a protein called GATA4, and that turns on intense NF-kappa inflammatory signaling. In simple terms, without autophagy, your fibroblasts turn into toxic zombie cells that just sit around leaking destructive chemicals into your skin. Autophagy clears out the P62, curing these zombie cells and shifting them away from that aging senescent state. Section 5. Building the ultimate barrier. Let's move to and see how this builds beyond the physical wall. We need to completely discard the idea that the skin's barrier is just a dead wall. It is a highly active, heavily regulated biochemical structure. A landmark 2015 study by Yoshihara on mice lacking the crucial ATG7 autophagy gene proved this undeniably. When autophagy is deficient, it leads to abnormal skin thickening and a massive reduction in the proteins required to build a functional barrier. Lacking this internal recycling mechanism fundamentally ruins the skin's protective defense. Your living cells rely entirely on autophagy to properly sequence and express barrier proteins like filaggacrin, which actually breaks down into your skin's natural moisturizing factor. People literally spend hundreds of dollars on creams for this, but a strong, hydrated outer barrier is actually the direct result of healthy internal cellular processing. Section 6. The cumulative 72-hour effect. Sustained cellular renewal. So, how does a 3-day fast pull all of this together? Well, hitting that 72-hour mark isn't just about turning autophagy on, it is about the power of duration. 72 hours allows for sustained, repetitive cycles of autophagy flux. We're talking about multiple rounds of sequestration, lysosomal fusion, and complete degradation. It is a deep, multi-day biological deep clean of your cellular environment. So the crucial point is when nutrient availability remains low over a 72-hour period, notice how drastically the cellular trash load drops. Because that damage is cleared out, the matrix quality just shoots up. The cells stop simply surviving their own toxic waste and finally allocate resources to building and maintaining a healthy, youthful skin structure. A comprehensive 2019 scientific review by Eckert and colleagues perfectly crystallized this consensus. Autophagy is a central, not peripheral, mechanism in skin aging biology. True skin vitality relies entirely on these long-living cellular populations effectively and continuously recycling their own internal waste. Which leaves us with this provocative and powerful final thought. The quality of the skin is completely dependent on the internal mechanisms of the cells that build it. It's an inside-out biological reality, not an outside-in cosmetic illusion. So the next time you think about anti-aging, ask yourself, are you just painting the exterior walls? Or are you finally ready to clean house?